You have two ages, and one of them is actually lying to you. The number on your driver's license, honestly, that's just how many times you've actually circled the sun. It tells you almost nothing about how old your body actually is on the inside. And here's the wild part. These two numbers that we're going to talk about today can be a full decade apart. That's right, 10 years apart, or bigger. I'm going to prove this in the next, well, I was going to say 10 to 15 minutes, but we know how I like to ramble and go on. So in this episode, I'm going to prove it to you. And you'll never look at your birthday the same way again. Because here's the whole idea today. We're all getting older, but that doesn't mean you've got to get old. Welcome to the Peptide Pulse, where science meets life-changing potential. I'm Dr. Adam Boonder, the peptide researcher, and today we're answering one deceptively simple question. How old are you really? So let's dive in. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand four things almost nobody tells you about aging. 2 ages, a number that you can actually move, a pharmacy hiding inside your own cells, and the fact that your muscle can literally read younger on paper. That's right. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's start with the big one. You don't have just one age. You actually have two. There's your chronological age, so the candles on your cake and all those fun things. And in fact, that cake is actually going to make your other age shift. We'll get to that later. And then your biological age, how worn or how fresh your cells actually are. And scientists can now actually measure the second one. It's called an epigenetic clock. So picture your DNA, that helix that you're made up of, that little simple thing like a piano. The keys never change. That's your genetics. But which keys get played and how often, that's actually called epigenetics. And in fact, if you break that word down, epi, it's upon, it's what is above the genetics. And over time, the song your cells play, honestly, it starts to drift. So let's look at some of this research, and I love it because it's so fascinating. Back in 2013, a researcher named Steve Horvath, so if I pronounce wrong names and do that, I apologize. And if we get into this, just know that I do apologize. Nobody gets my last name right anyway. That's why I go by Dr. Adam. But here we go. He built a clock that actually reads that drift. Okay? 353 specific spots on your DNA. So what does this really do and what does this really mean? So here we go, the study. This doc, so when he did this, it actually tests whether the chemical marks that sit on top of your DNA could actually reveal a person's true biological age. What did they find? So fascinating. By reading 353 specific sites on DNA, the clock predicted age with better than 90% accuracy across many different issues. All right? So, DNA methylation, age of the human tissues and cell types. This was in Genome Biology 2013. You can go look it up. You can see it for yourself. Your DNA carries a timestamp. Pretty simple. So, when we go through this, a newer clock we're going to talk about here called the Dunedin pace. We're going to get into this. I think my voice just cracked. That's crazy. I'm 45. That's not supposed to happen. But what this research showed is it actually, your DNA carries this timestamp. So if you understand this, as it reads these 353 different spots, you can tell how old the body is on the inside, not just those candles on your cake. So it got even better. All right, so the Dunedin pace, this is the actual new speed of age reading test, doesn't just tell you how old you are, it tells you how fast you're actually aging right now. All right, it's literally the speedometer of your biology. They wanted to measure not just how old you are, but how fast you're aging at this moment. So the clock first tells you the mileage, and then, well, this tells you, obviously, your speed. How quickly are you aging? So two people blow out the same number of candles, and one cellular engine is actually redlining while the others is just cruising. That can actually be happening. We could have two people that are 45, and somebody's actual age, biological age, could be 35. It could be 25. It could also be 65. So, here we go. You've got a biological clock. Here's the question everybody asks next. Can I move it? Answer's yes. In 2021, researchers ran a controlled trial. 8 weeks. This is fascinating, guys. In just 8 weeks, 2 months, I don't know how many hours that is, but I'll tell you, in 2 months, through diet, sleep, movement, some targeted nutrition, nothing exotic, nothing crazy, not even peptides, guys. Actually, I will say peptides. You know why? Because your body produces them. So from the diet, the sleep, the movement, and all these other things, it's actually shifting those signals to make sure things are happening. But this study, it was nothing crazy. And what did it come up with? The group that followed the program came out testing 3.2 years younger on their epigenetic clock. All right? 8 weeks, 3 years. Yeah, that's not a typo. The research is there. It's crazy. It's in the article. It's Aging. It's actually the book. The research is called Aging, 2021. Dr. Kara Fitzgerald. Look it up. Potential reversal of epigenetic age using a diet and lifestyle intervention. That's it. Diet and lifestyle. That's not a fluke. All right? Bigger, longer studies have been pointed in the same direction. I mean, you can truly slow down your clock. So when somebody tells you aging is just genetics and bad luck, and I'm going to stop right there because you know what? This is what you hear all the time from your doctor. When you go to the doctor, oh, it's just genetics. You're going to have heart disease. Oh, it's just genetics. You're going to have cancer. Oh, it's just genetics. You're just going to get old. This just happens. Stop believing the lies. Don't carry that banner over you. It's not the truth. That's just the mainstream story. And honestly, this research, these receipts, what I call receipts, this proof, it says otherwise. Your biology is listening to how you live every single day, every single moment, everything you pick up to eat, to drink, what you do with your body, the movement, the motion. Truthfully, your body is listening every single day. Now, here's where it gets kind of sci-fi, all right? A little bit different. You've got these little engines inside almost every cell of your body. And I get really excited talking about these things. They're called mitochondria. Yeah, mitochondria. Remember high school? They taught you that they make energy. It's true. But here's what they left out. Listen up. If you really want to understand how to begin to reverse that clock, your mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from the DNA in the nucleus. I know I'm doing some science here. And that little strand, it writes its own peptides. Did you hear that? I'm actually going to stop for a second. Your mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from the DNA in the nucleus of that cell. And that little strand of DNA in that mitochondria, it rewrites, and it can write its own peptides. Peptides are just tiny messengers, little notes your body passes cell to cell that say, hey, do this, fix that, calm down here, clean this up. So honestly, read this, listen to this here. Your mitochondria are running their own in-house pharmacy, if you want to think of it that way, all right? Their own in-house little, I guess, mechanism of healing and health. And it can go multiple ways, but one of the peptides that I love, and I'm going to share with you right now, is actually called MOT-C. It was discovered in 2015, all right? So what is this? It's literally a metabolic switch peptide. Research actually suggests that it acts like a metabolic switch, all right? Just like the light in your house, or even maybe turn on your car. It's a switch, helping the cells to handle stress, all right? Pretty simple. That's MOT-C. Humanin is another one. I haven't talked about it much, but humanin is a really cool one. It's being studied for its role in cellular survival and overall health span. Now, we talk about health span. I actually like to switch it. I call it heal span, how well your body can heal. Your mitochondria actually function and help. By them working, helps with your healing. It helps with your energy, helps with your immune system. Every single cell has mitochondria. It is the energy of every cell in your body. Every single cell. There's not one that's missing it, okay? So here's the thing. Humanin. This is called the survival peptide, all right? And here's the kicker. When you exercise, your body actually makes more MOT-C. Your workout isn't just burning calories. It may be telling your cells to print better messages. How incredible is that? So when we're told that we don't have control over our health or our aging or the things that are going to happen to us, it's a lie. You have, the messages. You have the ability to literally get out and do something about it. And so I really want to encourage you. I'm going to get on a soapbox here, but encourage you to get out, move, motion, life. Movement is life. I've said it for forever. So, all right, I'm going to move on, but here's the next one. This one actually got me the first time I read it. Researchers looked at human N levels in people connected to extraordinary longevity. All right, centurions, people that live for a longer period of time. So, this is where we're going to go. Quick precision, because honestly, the science matters, and so I want to look at this specifically in the research here. All right, what they measured the children of centurions, and those children actually carried up to 3 times higher levels of humanin than those that weren't. Yeah, you heard it right here. There's the research. It's right there. So research looked at humanin levels in families known for living exceptionally long lives. What they found, the children of people who lived to 100 carried up to 3 times higher levels of humanin. 3 times. So these are the children of centurions. I really want to make that noted. Not just the centurions alone, the people that are living up to 100 years or more. It's the kids that actually carried this. It's fascinating. So even the kids have a better chance because of what their parents actually did. So again, research suggests that the messengers of your mitochondria, honestly, may be a part of the longevity story that we're only reading about right now. The body knows what it's doing. It's fascinating. Our body is so incredible in the signals that it gives, that it also takes, that it utilizes. So here we go. Last one. And if you do nothing else after this episode, do this. All right? This is back in 2007. Yeah, I know it's crazy to think that we're in 2026 and this research has been around for quite some time, but nobody's sharing it. Why? I don't know. We'll think about that one too. Back in 2007, a study, okay, you ready? This study took older adults and put them through 6 months of resistance training. So weight training, resistance training, lifting weights, just lifting, twice a week. Before and after, research would read the genes inside their muscle. So they're looking at the genetic makeup inside the muscle. At the start, that older muscle had a distinct kind of, in a sense, old signature. Hundreds of genes dialed the wrong way. All right, so they were aging. After 6 months of lifting, 596 of those age-related genes had flipped back towards a younger profile. Remember, we talked about this when we look at that Dunedin, the actual study, when you're looking at the clock, the Dunedin pace of going down that aging pathway, it showed that after 6 months of actually resistance training, lifting weights, that pace had switched back and slowed down. So on paper, their muscle actually read younger. And the strength gap versus young adults, cut from 59% down to 38%. You didn't just get stronger. At the genetic level, your muscle got younger. That is the closest thing to a rewind button we've got. And honestly, it's free. It's amazing. So, here we go. All right. So, Adam, that's great. What do you actually do then? Which is a fair question. All right. This isn't a prescription. It's just, honestly, my routine. What do I do? Because people ask me all the time. So what I do is I actually do a lot of the resistance training. So lifting weights, I typically do 3 to 4 exercises per body part. People ask me this all the time. For cardio, I actually do what's called rucking. So I wear a weighted vest and I walk. Typically, I'll walk at least 1 time a day, sometimes twice a day, but I don't run. I used to be a sprinter in college. I did a lot of that, but I used to run until I actually broke my hip from running too far. I was running forever, and I thought, man, I can't lean up. I'm not going to be able to lean up unless I'm running or jogging or doing all of that. So I just started walking, and then rucking was great. I wear a 30-pound vest, and I walk for at least an hour, typically every single day. But in the resistance training side, which is what we talked about today, increasing that MOT-C through resistance training. In fact, that resistance training creates more MOT-C, pushing that muscle through resistance, all right? So I typically start off my workout. I'll do 2 to 3 different muscle, parts each time I work out. So let's say chest and back. I'll start off with a 10 to 12 rep kind of warm up. And then from there, I'll do 2 to 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps, just something heavier. And then I move on to the next body part. And typically I'm doing those 2 body parts, I'll switch to the next. And honestly, even what the research said, you only do that twice a week. I do it 3 to 4 times a week. And since I've done that, it's been crazy. My body fat percentage has diminished. I weigh about 179 right now. I haven't been there. When I graduated college, I was 215. I'm only 5'9", barely 5'9". I like to say it because I'm like 5'8 3/4. But, and I sit at about 5 to 8% body fat. And it's not that I have to try, but I do that because I want to increase my muscle resistance, which is increasing my mitochondria, which is decreasing my age. And one of the things that I actually did to then test this as well, in fact, the last time I got tested, I think my biological age was 38 years old. I'm 45, so I know that I'm moving in the right direction. So my workouts, again, they're nothing fancy. It's just being consistent on a regular basis because the muscle doesn't care how motivated you actually are. It only reads what you're actually doing. So you don't have to do a bunch of reps. Keep it simple. Keep it short. Increase your weight and do less reps. That's actually what's being shown to make the difference through these studies. So a quick note for, again, clinicians and some of these news watchers that are on here. These mitochondrial peptides aren't just, again, lab curiosities. They're in the regulatory conversations right now. And as a matter of fact, on public record, MOTS-c is on the agenda for the FDA's pharmacy compounding. So if you're listening to this before the pharmacy compounding, just know that it's there. If you're listening to it after, it's still in the news and it's still happening. That doesn't change what it actually does. So I'm reporting this information just so that everybody can have it, so they can have the knowledge and understanding what things like MOTS-c do. And if you want to look at other mitochondrial type peptides, ones that actually function and help with mitochondria overall, you've got peptides like MOTS-c, you've got humanin, which we talked about today. You have peptides like SS31. You even have peptides, which is actually not a peptide, it's a coenzyme, NAD. NAD works well as fuel for mitochondria. We talked about MOTS-c as really a driver for mitochondria. SS31 helps protect mitochondria. And that humanin, it helps with oxidative stress and damage towards the mitochondria, which is really cool because it's shown that it can actually pass on to future generations. So very, very fascinating stuff. So guys, this is exciting things. It's amazing how, we go year in and year out thinking that we're just going to keep getting older, which, well, you are by the candles, but that doesn't mean you got to get old because your body can actually begin to reverse that clock. Biologically, you can make those changes. You just actually have to make the changes. So what did we walk away with today? Number one, you have 2 ages, and the second one is the one that actually really matters. That's right, your biological age. Number 2, you can actually change your biological age. You can move it, and research actually shows 8 weeks moved the biological age by 3 years back in a controlled trial. They're just not guessing. They're actually showing it. Number 3, your cells run on their own pharmacy, their own system, and exercise actually will turn up that production. Those mitochondria that have their own DNA, that resistance training can actually turn back that biological clock. And number 4, lifting may be the closest thing to a rewind button that we've ever measured. And notice what's not on this list. Nothing exotic, nothing you can't start next week, nothing you can't actually start today. So how old are you really? Truth is, that number's a little more up to you than anyone actually ever told you. Not all of it, but more than you think. We're all going to get older. That doesn't mean we've got to get old. Less force, more source. If this is the type of peptide science you wish more people actually understood, subscribe to the Peptide Pulse. Drop a comment. Tell me more, about your 2 ages. Have you checked them both? Let's get tested. Start reporting back. I love reading these things. And send this to the one person in your life who thinks their birthday is a life sentence, because it isn't. Just tell them I said so. They can change it. For the providers watching, if you want the framework for bringing this kind of peptide education to your practice, responsibility, and compliantly doing it, that's exactly what we built with Precision Practice Mastery. Stay close to this channel, all right? And the important part, this is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. MOTS-c and humanin and the other peptides I discussed are research stage. They're being studied, not prescribed right now. Always talk to a qualified, licensed healthcare provider before any decision about peptides medications for your health. I'll see you on the next one.